A few years ago, I left Instagram unplanned, unprepared, and without a big audience on any other channels. When I came back to marketing my business, I really had to rethink how to do that without using social media. Now, a few years on, the marketing that I ended up with is actually much better for both me and my business, and it's more effective too. I'm Astrid, and in this video, I'll walk you through how I market my small business without being on any social media channels. So a little bit of background. In October 2021, I launched a new product for my business, and I'd spent quite a bit of time marketing, and I spent quite some time on Instagram, more than I had done before. So when that product had launched, I decided to take a 2-week break. And that 2-week break from Instagram turned into forever. First, because I became ill. I had a mental illness for a couple of months and really wasn't able to spend any time on my business at all. And then once I felt better and was able to pick up my business again and to pick up my marketing again, not being on Instagram was a choice. And it felt really good, and it continues to feel so. So when I came back to marketing my business, I essentially set 3 rules for myself. I wanted to be really intentional. And the first rule was that I didn't want to serve a platform. I felt fed up with the game of trying to figure out what the algorithm was going to be this week, how it worked, and what it rewarded. And with Instagram, I tried loads of things, right? I tried the hashtags, I tried various scheduling tips for time of day. I tried posting 5 times a week or less, or well, all the things. But I constantly felt, and that feeling became stronger, that I was actually working for Instagram rather than for my small business. Now, of course, this is always to some extent the case, whatever channel we use, right? I run my website through WordPress, for instance, so by paying them, I also support them. But that is a much clearer exchange to me than I felt on Instagram. The second rule was that I wanted it to be easy to discover my business and my content, and I wanted it to be really easy for people to click through. And at that point, I wasn't at 10,000 followers yet on Instagram, and they still had the rule that you had to have at least that many followers to have this sort of click-through thing, right? That you get the clickable link. And I didn't. But even without that, Instagram, like lots of social media, they want you to stay on the platform, right? And they don't really want you to go beyond the platform. But I wanted people to go beyond the platform, right? I wanted people to go to my website, to sign up for my newsletter, to check out my products and services. And this tension between what the platform wanted and what I wanted, that just made me very annoyed. And again, fueled that feeling of being really fed up with social media. And then the third rule, and this is the biggest one for me, the platform, whatever platform I use, needs to fit my needs and my strengths. And before I share exactly what that means in practice, I just want to provide a little caveat around social media. Quite a few of the platforms that I do use might be seen as social media, right? Some people see YouTube as social media, or Pinterest, but both of those I really see more as search engines. And I think that will become clear, that distinction, once I share how I now market my business. So in thinking about marketing that fits my needs and my strengths, there were a couple of things that came back. The first one is that I thrive on creating longer form content. That is the kind of stuff that I like to read, that I like to consume. I found it really hard to create snappy, quick, but effective content. So the first thing I did was think about, okay, so my newsletter is one of the things that I love writing. I love writing in general. I love thinking through things. I love thinking in paragraphs. So I thought about, okay, so how can I make that work harder? And essentially that meant looking at, okay, so how was I sharing the newsletter? So in terms of how could people sign up? I looked at different places where I could add more sign up forms on my website, in my email signature, but also making sure that I had a couple of Pinterest pins going to it. And I went from once a month to twice a month for my free newsletter. And because I was no longer spending my time and energy on Instagram, I had time to kind of scale up the newsletter. And this, thinking in terms of seeking longer form content to market my business, is also what essentially drew me to YouTube, even though I always thought that video wasn't for me. And for the longest time, video really wasn't for me, because I associated video with Reels, with like TikTok, with Shorts, with really short, snappy, often loud content. And that isn't for me. But I like the slightly longer form content that YouTube allows me to make. Now, the second part that was important for me in terms of marketing according to my needs and strengths is that I want the marketing content that I create to be evergreen. The average social media post has a lifespan of a couple of days, if at all. And to me, that felt like such a waste, because I found it hard to create these posts, right? I never created stuff off the cuff. And just the thought that, first of all, this algorithm that I never got to the bottom of decided whether it was shown at all, and then it would just disappear after a couple of days. That just felt kind of heartbreaking to me. So instead, I started looking at, okay, so what kind of evergreen content have I got and what can I build up? So that means looking at my blog and SEO and focusing on Pinterest. And what I love, before I recorded this video, I just went into Pinterest to check my top pins, and my top 3 pins are 3 to 4 years old, and they're still bringing people in, familiarizing people with the work that I do. And I love that. And the same goes for my blog. It just keeps getting richer in terms of value. And I only had to work for it once. Now it's just ticking along in the background. And then the third part that's really important for me is the ability to schedule. And I know that with much social media, you can now also schedule stuff. But for me, it was particularly the thing that really annoyed me was the exchange of attention for whatever, right? I don't want to be rewarded for my attention. And I was on Instagram. And I think many of these platforms, right, the more time you spend on them, the bigger the chance that the platform will show your own content. And that is just something that rubs me completely the wrong way. So I like to vary how much time I spend on a platform. I get easily overwhelmed. I'm neurodiverse. I've had like mental health struggles. Spending a lot of time on social media is not good for me. So I schedule pretty much everything. And this is not a productivity hack. This is how I need to take care of myself thing. So for instance, my newsletter, I send it out twice a month, but I can write it whenever, right? And then schedule it. I usually have like a schedule in my mind beforehand, but I can write it and then it goes out whenever. And the same goes for these YouTube videos, and it goes for my blog posts and for my Pinterest pins as well. I can just do whenever the energy is there, whenever I feel creative, and that just feels really good to me. So my question to you is, and I'd love to hear your answer in the comments, is which rules for marketing your small business are you setting? Do leave a comment, I'd love to know, and I'll definitely respond. So if this video resonated with you, come join the waitlist for Grow, my marketing program, and you'll get some really gentle, not overwhelming tips and bonuses for marketing your business and creating an intentional and sustainable marketing system. And you'll also be the first to hear when the program launches again. And I'll see you soon.